Before we get started, I'm gonna need y'all to quit playing with my Uncle on my wallet and buy some shit. Alright, gonna do what you was gonna do.
What's going on, YouTube family? This is Brother Omawale, your favorite corporate dropout, back with another necessary upload. Before I get started with our show today, I want to send a major shout out to my Asafo gang, the members on the channel. I rock with y'all heavy. Definitely appreciate the support. If this is your first time here, make sure you subscribe to the channel. Definitely smack that like button and leave a comment below. I love to engage with the viewing audience here on the channel. All right, so now that we got that out the way, today I'm actually doing a response to my good brother, the Green Gorilla. Got to give a major shout out to the Green Gorilla. His latest upload was called "Many Brothers Are Scared of the Black Manosphere and Only Have Their Feet in It." Like it's like you like only dipping your toes in the pool. Like you at the shore, but you're scared to jump into the ocean. So I wanted to actually engage with my brother on this particular conversation. So there's a small review. There's a clip that I found from the brother Edward Anderson that I definitely want to cover in this kind of like reply / response. But before I do that, I want to just do a little bit of storytelling. I mean, I don't get to do storytelling too often. So this is actually this is a pretty funny story, right? So growing up, right, I grew up in the hood. In the middle of North Philly, and like back in the early 90s, maybe like 91, 92, we had got like one of those big swimming pools put in our backyard, right? So I don't know if y'all remember those above ground, like 3-foot like swimming pools, but like it was like all the rave to have one of them joints in your backyard. So one day, we all in a pool, is me, my brothers, my sisters, my cousins, a couple of neighbors, like we just in the pool, like wilding out. And I remember my cousin Andre, right? My cousin Andre, rest in peace, is no longer living. He made his transition a few years ago. But yeah, I remember my cousin Andre had like, it was like a rock was in the pool, right? And mind you, my little brother is in the pool. My little brother at the time was probably like 2 or 3 years old, right? So like he has on like a swimming pamper. And so my cousin Andre picks up this rock and was like, "Who throwing rocks in the pool?" But it wasn't no rock. It was like a turd. Like my brother, my younger brother, I mean, released his bowels in the pool, right? So stay with me. Listen, stay with me. So my cousin Andre picks up the rock and he's like, "This ain't no damn rock," and he like tosses it out the pool, right? So we all like laughing, right? Because he picks up like a turd, right? Clearly, it's a floating turd in the pool. So why do I bring this up, right? Because my guy, the Green Gorilla, is saying that brothers is scared to put both feet into the pool, right? Into the Black Manosphere. Or but brothers have their toes in the pool, but they scared to jump in. And what I want to say to my brother is, yo, Green Gorilla, that ain't no goddamn rock, beloved. Like those is turds in the pool. Like we gotta, if you want brothers to feel comfortable jumping in the pool, right, and in the Roman shower, like you gotta clean it up a little bit. You know what I mean? Like it's like turds floating around in the pool, and that's what I want to get to today, because there seems to be a willingness on the part of some folks to ignore the turds that are floating around in the pool. And they're like, well, it's just one turd, it's just two turds, it's not, it's not that serious. Or to completely ignore it and say it's not a turd, it's a rock. So the reason why I wanted to speak on this is because recently one of the brothers in our Cobra Calisthenics collective, he had came to me. He was like, "Yo, brother Omawale, I didn't know you had no beef with Dr. Tia Johnson." I'm like, "Nah, what are you talking about? Like, I'm cool. Like, we disagree on some things, but we definitely got no beef." And he's like, "No, I'm just playing with you." But I was listening to the last live that he did, and like your name came up. I was like, "Well, what's the timestamp?" I went back. I tried to find it. I did find one area, but it wasn't nothing spicy. But I say all that to say, as I was listening to the dialogue, listening for my name to come up, there was a part where my brother, Dr. Tia Johnson, was speaking, and he mentioned that, there's like in the last few years, he's been seeing this push for unity from Black women that like we've never seen before, right? Black women wanting to unify with black men. He even said something that was really like hilarious from my perspective. He said that the term "Hey big head" has now taken on a new perspective, right? In this request for black men to do political and emotional labor of like unifying the community, right? Whether you agree or disagree with his perspective, that's neither here nor there, because that isn't what my point is hinged on. My point is hinged on, as he was speaking, he was saying that there are some black woman scholars who are embarrassed about what they are seeing in the divester community, right? The black women who call themselves divestors online. And they're like, pushing back against like, hey, we're not connected with that at all. And what I'm saying is, we got some shit in our own pool. I feel like, there are some brothers within the manosphere that folks like Tiasan Johnson and Green Gorilla should likewise be expressing embarrassment of, like, based upon some of the commentary and the value systems that they express. Now, when I first said I was putting my content in the manosphere, I did so. My whole thing was like, we got to do this clean glass of water, dirty glass of water. So I always wanted to do this analysis of the underlying values that a lot of the brothers traffic in within the manosphere that I felt were detrimental to the black community. Now, stay with me, because we're talking about the turds in the pool, right? So I used a lot of my early content when I was doing the Race, Manhood, and Power podcast. Shout out to season 1. If you ain't checked out season 1, make sure you go ahead in the catalog and check that out. It is definitely in the archives on the channel. So check that out if you haven't checked out season 1 of the Race, Manhood, and Power podcast. But I digress. I used a lot of the episodes during season 1 to have this conversation about some of the underlying values in the black manosphere. I started it off by doing an analysis called the Romanization of black male values. It was called Semen-Filled Red Pills. Like, people really didn't like that name, right? So my apologies for the incendiary name, but the subtext of the Semen-Filled Red Pills was called the Romanization of black male values, right? Rome, as in ancient Rome, as in Greco-Roman culture, right? Where do some of these values come from, right? And this is what I'm talking about in terms of like what's swimming in the waters or the cesspool of the manosphere. And I don't think that we can ignore some of these things. Like, when people have a view on our sisters that they are property, they are chattel, how do you even start a conversation to try to mend the gap when one party is looking at the other party as if they are not even human, right? That's a very European thing, right? Europeans, view European women as, a lesser species, a weaker species, right? So I'm not going to go into all of that right now, because if you want to, I'll add the playlist at the end of this upload that has my full analysis, as well as other lectures and presentations where I'm breaking down the values that I'm speaking on, the values that I think we definitely need to talk about if we're serious about bridging the gap and relating as black men and black women in this community in a different way, in a more honest and open way, right? So what I want to do just very, very quickly here is I want to play this clip from the brother Edward Anderson that just, he's going in as he always does. He does lots of rants, but there's this part where he talks about, basically the black bitch being his property. So I want you to check that out. All right, here it is.
You don't need one money to have sex with a black woman. There's other things they value. But in the long run, you will be judged on the money, and they will disrespect you because you f them until you get a kid by them. Now they can use that white man against you. And now you got to deal with that, and you have no way to defend that. Even guys like Dennis had to deal with that. He's a lawyer. So yeah, they may trade pussy for dick, but that doesn't mean you control her, and you have bought into that as the idea of the ability to control them. That is a trick bag you chose to walk into. Because this is why when dudes talk about tricking, even how they said with SWP, they was like, oh man, you sound like you tricking. Because that is because you don't comprehend the shit. No other man value. Oh man, I need desire. No other man views it that way because they view women as property. You're the only nigga that gives a fuck about what that bitch thinks. And that in of itself makes you weak. Maybe not physical, but mentally.
All right. All right. So we need to engage this, right? This is something that we need to talk. Like, where does this notion that women are the property of men come from? It is certainly not something that we've seen expressed in classical African societies. Yes, those societies that were conquered by Islam and Christianity, right? By, the Abrahamic faiths. Yeah, they brought with them that level of misogyny or anti woman values, right? Dr. John Henry Clark used to always say, like, he don't rock with none of these world religions because all of them are nothing but like male chauvinist murder cults. We're talking about the Abrahamic religions, but those were things that came into the continent and disrupted a way of life and a way of relating male and female where we were both human. She was not our property. She has agency. So therefore we have to value her humanity. The discussions that we're having when we say we need to talk, and shout out to my brother, Dr. Obi, Dr. Alan Obi. If you haven't checked out the interview I did with that brother, definitely check that out in the catalog. But a little plug here. And also I want to give that brother a happy belated birthday because his birthday was this week. But yeah, we do need to talk. But when we come to the table, everyone needs to be able to show up and express their full humanity, both Black men and Black women. We can't say that one party in this equation is property or chattel. Like, that's just not going to work. So I really want to have a more full conversation around a lot of the Eurocentric values that I feel have a deep, like, stranglehold on the manosphere. Because if anything, and all of my critiques that I've ever given of Kevin, because like I said, I have the ability to, how do they say, like, eat the meat and spit out the bone, pause, because I know Bomani be watching, so pause. But I have the ability to do that, but all of my critiques have been on the value system, right? The treatment plan that he's prescribing to our pairing crisis. I used to always say, well, it's actually, some of it is detrimental. Some elements, like, yeah, getting the therapy, working hard and exercising, those things like that, that's good. Like, do that. But some of the more subtle things, I used to just say, I feel that they are detrimental to our psyche because they are born of a Eurocentric Western Christian ethos that is not really healthy for us. So those are my thoughts. Just wanted to do a very quick response to my brother, the Green Gorilla. Leave your comments below. Let me know what you think, and I'll talk to y'all soon. Peace.